first, and before I get to a bizarre conference of Marxists at Melbourne University over the weekend, you won't believe the video I'm going to show you of that. Let me talk about another old Marxist from that very same university, Professor Marsha Langton. Now, a lot of people on the left are saying, well, you know, the wicked Murdoch media were trying to kill The Voice, Labor's plan for a kind of Aboriginal-only advisory parliament. Wicked Murdochs and their wicked minions like us here on Sky News and the papers I write for. But unfortunately, I don't get that feeling at all. And it's not just me who's noticing. The Left Wing Monthly last week also detected a shift underway here. Now, why that's happening, I've got my suspicions. One day I'll share them. Now, it is true that the Murdoch News Corp, it does have some conservatives who oppose The Voice. It's true, like me, like Peter. But they stand out only because other outlets like The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald, The Guardian, the ABC, SBS, they all refuse to hire a single conservative columnist or host of a mainstream program. Not one. And now look here. The latest evidence of this seeming shift here at News Corp is this extremely flattering cover story on Professor Marsha Langton, the very, very abusive woman who co-wrote the blueprint for Labor's Voice. It was in Saturday's Australian magazine and accidentally made an offer on an online blurb for it that I can't refuse. Vote no and you won't get welcome to country again. It's meant as a threat, but I hope that's a promise. Please. I mean, I wouldn't be the only Australian sick of being welcomed to my own country, the one I was born in, the one my parents are buried in. It's insulting and it's divisive, just like The Voice itself. Different political rights for Australians depending on their race. Now, what is driving this destructive attack on how we govern ourselves, this attack on our egalitarianism? Well, about that, back to this profile of Marsha Langton, now a senior member of the Albanese government's Indigenous Voice to Parliament Working Group, and, like I say, the co-author of the blueprint. Now, something was missing in this. Now, I talked a lot about Langton's past, her schooling in Queensland, her black activism and so on, but there was not even a hint that Langton had been a communist. And not just a foot soldier, she was actually a member of the National Committee of the Communist League, a leader of a Marxist movement crusading to destroy capitalism. And then she joined the equally Marxist Socialist Workers' Party in 1977. Now, you'll say, look, communists are so last century. Besides, Langton's now 71. She must have wised up since. Old history. But there's actually a clue in this, a warning that this Voice, kind of Aboriginal-only advisory parliament of unelected activists just like Langton, but in our constitution, so unsackable, it's driven by hate, not love, and will divide, not unite. And the clue is this. Marxism, that so attracted Langton that she had to help run the party that pushed it, doesn't treat people as individuals. It divides us into faceless members of a class. You're either a worker or a boss, and one side's good, the other side's bad, and the demonization of the opponents. It just lets people believe that they can then crush these people like insects, which is why Marxist countries, of course, have killed so many of their own citizens. And it's also why this Voice now, attracting the same kind of people, is also so vicious to people who oppose it. You're racist, you're this, you're that. I mean, how often have you heard Langton herself or fellow Voice guru Noel Pearson abusing their opponents as racists and worse? I mean, Langton sees racists absolutely everywhere. I mean, you cross her, chances you'll cop it too. I mean, racist. Just in this profile, her school books were racist. People in the shops were racist. Her university lecturer gave her a bad mark, must have been racist. Her Green and Labor and leftist critics criticised for not disclosing money that she should have, they thought. They're racists. Queensland, when she was young, was so racist that no human rights were accorded to Aborigines, she says, which is actually completely false, as is often the case with her. She even accused Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, a self-Aboriginal, of legitimising racism by opposing The Voice. She called me a racist on the ABC, only to later admit to me on air, I wasn't. She called Queensland schools in her old days as horrible racist hellholes, with teachers the kind of people who still advocated killing Aboriginal people. Seriously? Yet she herself was made house captain at her high school. She's front row right. So go figure how that all fits. But you have to know this. If we vote for The Voice later this year, and I reckon we're mad enough to do that, what Langton is doing, you're going to get more of. I mean, stands to reason, just think about it. See how far Langton has gone by screaming racist at people, from Tim Flannery on the left, he's a racist too apparently, to John Howard on the right. And you're going to get more of that in The Voice, because why else would we have a voice just for people identifying as Aboriginal? An extra body. If The Voice didn't keep saying, well, this society is so racist that we need is to stick up for the oppressed against the wicked white oppressors. So this means The Voice is always going to have members who are probably more radical than centrist, and also against assimilation and for separatism, the kind of policies that are actually been destroying so many Aboriginal lives. Because again, if it didn't do that, why else would it exist? If people were assimilated, why? And that kind of thing, treating people as just insignificant members of a class or a tribe, at war with other classes or tribes, I tell you again, how Marxist is that?